said unstable before, but now it says excellent connection on YouTube, so I hope it stays that way.
Fingers crossed.
So you're saying live. Hey, look at that. We're live. Get live. Get live.
Oh, I don't know. There we go.
So, yeah, for those who joining us a little bit late here, but that's because we have different backgrounds this weekend. Joe and I are in the middle of Tirana. Just
There we go. Finally, somebody says it right.
Here, doing some fun stuff, but figured we'd still have time to do a live chat, live stream of some degree. So, if you are joining after our live stream, go ahead and skip 15 minutes here to get the first impressions of the new Begg knives that we're checking out.
Absolutely. Justin's already ribbing us about going live late live.
Yeah, well, there's time changes and like jet lag and other words that are affiliated with why I was 5 minutes late today. Get over it. We were 5 minutes late. It was a collective group effort of being late.
It would be really weird if we were on time, but Joe wasn't.
I don't know how that would physically happen.
Well,
yeah, that's what I mean.
I almost became the host a couple weeks ago, so that could have been one way, but yeah.
The problem with that, though, is I don't think you have the programs on your computer to do that.
No, nothing would have happened. It would have been horrible.
Nothing would have happened.
It would have killed it.
Both a collective effort of my lack of software as well as lack of knowledge, I'm sure. So
I wasn't going there. I was just going after software.
It is what it is, man.
True facts.
So,
but you'll build one hell of a lean-to. So we all got our skill set.
Oh, yeah.
Bushcrafty skills.
Yeah, I'm okay.
We all have our lane.
Depends. Don't ask me to bend over right now because my knee really hurts. No bushcrafting. It's peg leg bushcrafting here for a while. Yeah. And right now we can see through your glass, Paul, so it just looks like you're drinking a glass of mountain fresh air.
Obviously.
Piney. Like it's...
I mean, I am drinking mead. It's the most outdoorsy of my beverages. I don't know if that's just an association I make because I drink mead in the woods or because it's like flowers and honey, but I feel like it's true.
That's fair. That's fair. Paul, you carrying anything new and fun that we don't know about?
No, I am not. I am carrying something newish to me, but you guys all know about it, and quite fun. But I can go first if that was
sure
the problem. Yeah. I can absolutely do that. I am carrying my Holt haptic again this week because it's pretty.
That's not your
and I keep
Holt. That's not your Holt. It's not blue or purple or whatever the fuck. Yeah. Being artsy.
Ta-da.
I was gonna more make a crack about, you're carrying it again because you officially have no money after actually purchasing this thing. So it's the only thing you're gonna carry for the rest of the year. Yeah, like my weekly carry is,
It's gonna be stuck with one knife. It's not a bad one, I suppose, for day to day.
I mean, you could definitely do worse. I just like to take this thing out in the woods apparently and risk it all.
I was gonna say it could definitely be worse. It could be that you have to go to Tirana, that you can't bring any of your favorite knives with you.
Yeah, that is fair.
Well, you have no one to blame but slow shipping time, sir.
Yeah, that sucked.
All right. So, yeah, kind of spoiler as far as what we're carrying this week. Joe and I were able to hit up a local store here in town in Toronto while we were here.
Toronto.
Yeah, you have to say it as properly as possible.
Yeah.
Got to make up for those Torontos somehow.
No, Toronto's the right way. It's correct.
Toronto?
And I think, yes, I'll go first only because I think probably Joe's got, I don't know, more to explain, I guess. He has more to explain for himself here on the more than anything else.
This is true.
So I don't actually have it with me tonight because we had to ship everything out and make it all, airplane domestic friendly. So currently I'm only rocking my Buck Budgie because that's the only thing that they let me on the plane with. But throughout the course of this week, I was able to spoil myself and got absolutely killer deal on the Kaiser Feist.
Very nice.
So I joined the club.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a fancy Kaiser Feist.
Nice. Is that sorry?
I was gonna say it's a burgundy rich light with CPM 4V.
Okay.
Kind of Kaiser Feist. Yeah. So
I was gonna ask if it was micarta.
What's that?
I was gonna ask if it was micarta. But
yeah. Purple, burgundy, whatever. I don't know what Kaiser's actually calling it, but
it is kind of a burgundy red. Yeah.
And then I've personally never seen 4V this cheap on a knife before. Like sub 200 CAD.
Nice. Okay.
Like just a screaming deal. And there was a couple knives that I was looking at and whatever. And there's some things that had some new fancy Magna cuts that we might talk about later on down the road or things like that. Yeah. And I was like, oh, I have no right to be looking at any of these things right now. I need to go to a cabinet that's a little more reasonable. It's for my own sake.
All right.
Expenses are a little higher this year than normal, but yeah. So, but also played with a front flipper for a week or so. And I'm not normally a front flippery or normal flippery guy in the first place. But had pretty good fun with it. Got used to it. Broke in my thumb in a whole different way. But, you know, you can take that for whatever you want. Yeah.
Yeah, they're fidget friendly. That's for sure.
For sure. And I will say I wasn't a huge fan of the titanium because of the slippery, the rich light, the micarta. They've come out with some other variations recently. Yeah. There was a Feist XL that had 20 CV and I think it was fat carbon fiber on it. And same thing, a lot easier to flick with an XL size and whatever, right? So, yeah, but
absolutely.
The grip on the handle is actually quite nice, yeah.
Absolutely. Just quick shout out to CJLA and Ben in chat. What is up, boys?
Hey guys, thanks for joining us.
Hey guys.
CJ's asking how the convention went. He said he's listening and writing.
Yeah, convention went fantastic. Big success. No major problems.
That's good.
Major. What's major? Major's relative. Yeah.
So there's going to be stories when you guys get back. Excited.
I had a lot of fun. Yeah, we'll be back tomorrow and sure, more stories, I'm sure. So.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Joe, hammer through this. We got 5 minutes and we should talk about some knives.
Yeah.
I'll not dwell too long on this, but what do I have left? So I've got a Squirt PS4 in blue because it's cute and adorable, and I hate not having a multi-tool of some kind on me. And the other guy is a minimalist with a Cthulhu, because that's just the way to do things. And it glows in the dark, and that's cute. And nobody who sees that would think, oh, that shouldn't be on a plane. So that was the backup in case I couldn't get anything else or didn't want anything else. Yeah.
Quick question. Um, did you confirm that you can carry more than one on a flight? Is that what's going on there?
I confirmed it by just doing it, so it's
Okay, that's what I'm asking. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, it seems
Cool.
like they count multi-tools and jackknives and fixed blades and folding knives all separately. I don't really understand the difference between a folding knife and a jackknife, but they are, I think they're listed separately. But
Okay.
all the blades are definitely well
Under
under
the
that limit. So
6 centimeter or less is the and it does
yeah,
say a knife, and then it says a multi-tool with a knife as
Okay.
two different things that you're allowed to. Yeah,
which is very useful because while this blade is it's okay when it's out, it's a two-hander, it's tiny, it's not the most useful or convenient thing. So but I did
Absolutely.
manage to pick up a few things that are a little bit more convenient. They're both weird. They're both from Boker. Uh,
This is
one
exciting.
is a wasabi. The other is a, I think it's called the slider R, or this isn't the
Okay.
slider D. Yeah, yeah. So one's a half face out the front, with a very similar opening and closing mechanism to the Kershaw capsule that I already own. Chisel ground 440C. I didn't realize that slider thing is chisel ground. That thing has a stupid, sharp, scary edge, right out of box, which is nice. So I didn't
Okay.
use it that much this weekend, but I'm curious to see how it holds up in future. We've actually had the wasabi at cutting edge before. The detent on this one was so much better than the batches that we had at the time. At least for my preference, I always prefer a much more crisp, snappy detent. That's a friction folder. It's a double detent top flipper, front flipper thing. It's stupid and wild, and it's like a 2 millimeter thick blade. It's super slicey. I love it.
It's
Um,
a double detent crossbones almost.
yeah, I was saying to Dennis, I'm like, oh yeah, yeah, the guy who constantly complains about trailing point knives buys yet another trailing point knife in Toronto because that's what happened last time I was here, um,
Yeah.
with the real steel Epon. Epon? Yeah, it's Epon.
yeah.
Um, anyway, yeah, I've actually been really impressed with the 440C. I didn't cut through a ton of cardboard this weekend, but enough that I expected to see some kind of deformation on the edge. Very little. It's yeah, I like Boker's 440C, or at least in this particular instance, it's been working out pretty good. Sadly, the wasabi is too long to take on the plane.
Yeah.
The slider is short enough, but given what happened with the capsule last time, decided it wasn't worth the hassle. So both of them are being shipped out. Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably a fair idea. Fair plan.
The only other thing I'm going to throw out there is that I think the slider is like an ounce and a half. Like it
Okay.
weighs like fuck all. Like it's very lightweight. But yeah, no, it's
I tried to convince him to drill a little hole halfway up the slide to make a half stop on it. So
Yeah, I think that's
I'm
the right choice.
I'm debating it. This knife was like $45 Canadian, so like super cheap. So if I order,
laudable.
yeah, if I want another one, then yeah, easy enough to do.
What's the handle material?
It's G10.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
so I have questions going into the future as far as the solidity of the lockup over time with G10 because I've done
Guess
some
we'll find
experiment.
out.
I've done some experimenting of my own with steel on G10 wear, and I have questions, but we'll see. We'll see.
Okay. Cool.
Uh,
Sorry.
Couple comments there, Ben. Yeah, drinking Stella. Um, Provincial run liquor stores in Ontario compared to privatized. So sometimes you take what you can get in the area that you're in, sir. So
Yes.
and also I throwback to Infinite also mentioned 200 sub 200 dude like 179 175 like it's yeah for 4v
That's a
that
killer price.
that was the swaying factor on this doesn't break the bank, and I think that's my first knife with 4v, so yeah, anyway.
4V is also extremely similar to Vanitas 4 Extra, um, which
Infinite's actually intimate with, because
oh
I believe he has a ZT Tomahawk that's made out of Vanitas 4 Extra.
Jesus, I
That's
forgot about that thing. Holy
made
hell.
for chopping through life. So if you need to.
That's awesome. Wow.
Chop that life.
So,
Chop it.
well, chop chop. So, I think we actually did that in about 15.
I'm gonna say we got there.
Thereabouts. I wanted to see if it could show off the glow in the dark. Oh, yeah, you can kind of see it. You can kind of see it. Kind of. It's cheesy.
I'm gonna
The
go into
webcam
the other
is-
room and slap him. It's for the best.
Oh, good. There's a lock on the door.
He was waiting for me.
Alright, that's enough of our carries. Yeah. We're here to talk about some stuff. Some things that Dennis and I have not handled, but have many questions that Paul will hopefully be able to answer.
Yeah, sure. I can do that.
Yeah.
That sounds right.
Well, you knew this day was coming, sir.
Indeed.
Should I say bam? Oh, no, picture's not there. Okay, picture's there now. Bam! There you go. SteelCraft series. We've been kind of excited about these guys.
Indeed.
So, Paul, why don't you introduce these bad boys?
Because I don't know how to pronounce one of their names.
All right.
It's Glimpse.
Yeah, that's the. All right. Cool.
Sorry.
See, I pronounced it with the CH sound. So, kind of assume, we could always default to that.
Yeah, I don't know. I suppose one of us could have watched a video from anywhere and probably told us.
Dude, I have a backlog of YouTube videos that I need to watch when I get home because I haven't had time to watch them. It's been go, go, go this whole time. Anyway.
But I will say, the mini glimpse. Am I correct? I was looking it up over the weekend. These guys are both in D2.
I think the entire lineup is D2.
Okay.
Or maybe like there's one entry or two entries with 14C, but I thought they were all D2.
For some reason, I thought I had it in my head that they were VG10, but I think I'm thinking of something else. Obviously.
Maybe because they make a Quaken, and that's common. But
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. But yeah, mini glimpse and the what's it called, Joe?
Diamici. Diamici? Not sure.
Diamici, something.
Yeah.
One of them sounds like a monster.
Diamici? I don't know.
That was actually the one I was most interested in because of the construction, honestly. I'm just looking it up online, and it sure seems like D2 is the steel of choice for both of these knives. I feel like that was an important detail to clarify. So,
yeah,
yeah.
Like I said, I had looked it up over the weekend, and they both came back as D2.
Do you happen to have specs on hand? Because I have them here too.
I do not have specs on it.
So Diamici, overall length 7 inches, blade length 3 inches.
That would be this guy. Ba-bam.
Weight is 4 ounces on the nose. The ball bearing system, stainless steel handle, G10 overlay.
So, 4 ounces for how big of a blade?
None of your business. 3 inch, 2.95.
So it is a little chonk, but not quite as chonk as I expected, given
Yeah.
steel frame. Yeah.
I mean, it's still working with Shabazz's ounce per inch type thing, right? So
I'm not even sure if he coined that necessarily, but he definitely helped popularize it.
And then as far as the mini glimpse goes, 7.2 overall. The mini is longer than the Diamici, just for the record.
Yeah, it's a little weird.
Yeah.
Blade is still 3 inches. Cutting edge is 2.73 because it's got a big old choil. Hollow grind, rather flat grind, so a little bit different on those. Weight is 4.2 ounces. This is heavier than the stainless steel handled Diamici.
That's
interesting.
Weird. I'd like to see. Anyway,
Did you say it's heavier?
Yeah. Stainless steel frame and or liner, G10, flipper, tip up, ball bearing.
Yeah.
It's a thicker blade. It's a 0.15 instead of a 0.12.
Big old thick steel backspacer on it too.
That might have something to do with it.
Yeah.
Because I think it's the G10 backspacer on the Diamici.
Yeah.
I really wish one of us would have watched the video to figure out what that's called.
Interesting.
Oh yeah, Paul's got him here. Yeah.
It's interesting that they go in both directions on that G10 spacer on the stainless steel handle, stainless steel spacer on the G10 handle. Like,
well, like,
what if people were looking at balances or something?
Actually, on that point, Paul, where is the balance point on those knives? Is it like right where your index finger would sit in the like right underneath the flipper?
No, this one's definitely like,
A little bit further back.
yeah, it's almost at the pocket clip.
Oh,
You can
okay.
see that there.
Right. What about the other one with the full steel frame?
About the same place.
Okay, I was gonna say it's impossible to tell with your webcam right now because of the background.
Yeah,
But,
it's approximately where the break in the inlays
Ooh.
is.
Okay, that's not too bad. I mean,
I like it. It feels like it's gonna stay in your hand.
I was just gonna try and articulate that. Yeah, I'm sorry guys, I'm pretty zonked. I'm sure Dennis is even more zonked. Yeah, I know guys talk about like point of balance with the pocket knife. Generally speaking, there's not really a ton of grip area to begin with, and it's not such a long blade in most cases that it's gonna matter. So having a bit of a rearwards balance point isn't necessarily a bad thing in my opinion when it comes to knives like these. Like Paul says, it feels like it'll stay in your hand most of the time.
It's not so back heavy as to feel like it wants to fall out the backside of your hand either.
Okay.
Both of these are a Jabo design, I believe. I don't know if it's an exact collab with Begg Knives and Jabo, but Jared Van Otterloo, we know and love, and trying to continue to grow, expand his designs in the shop, right? So, on that note, I was kind of thinking to myself that maybe there was some design language on both weight and balance on these ones that they might actually looked at some science behind the whole thing and tried to properly weight these things. So even if they were in your hand with a stainless steel handle, it might not feel as heavy, counterbalancing with the blade and so on and so forth. Whereas vice versa with the G10 handle, trying to balance it out so it doesn't feel too front heavy.
And that's really tricky to do with it. Sorry, Paul, go ahead.
I was going to say that both of them feel solid without feeling overly heavy for their size. Like,
okay,
they carry their weight well, if that makes sense.
That's fair. There's a certain sex appeal to a full stainless steel build, though. That's just like, fuck. At least for me, that's just kind of cool. And I don't know whether it stems to like the old school Spydercos or the old Benchmade like Balisongs, or just some of the early titanium frame blocks where it's like all metal construction, where it's just like, yeah, it's really something. Do you get that? Do you get that feeling of solidity from the I'm gonna have to put a video at some point. The Diamici, the top one,
definitely
the steel. Yeah.
Yes, I get that feeling from both of them. Quite honestly, I just looked on the inside of the Diamici as well, and I'm noticing that the show side is quite pocketed on the inside. So they did some work.
So they did
with
milling
that
on both sides.
So here's a question for you. Can you see the G10 through that?
That was my follow-up.
The inside?
I don't believe so. No.
It's still just stainless steel cutouts.
That's actually kind of impressive.
So that's a lot of milling on that stainless steel to be able to get inner pockets and outer pockets and all the pockets.
And that explains the difference. That does explain the difference in weight to a degree. Because yes, you could deepen the pockets on the top from the top side, leave it flush on the inside, but then you have to fill it with G10, which means it's still going to be like G10 is still heavier than nothing. So in this case, they have very thin layer of steel and then a pocket of air. That's kind of cool. I wonder how much finagling was done to figure out that was the way to do things, because that doesn't seem like the obvious solution. That's a lot of extra work.
They definitely put in the work. I'll be honest with you, as far as the inlays and stuff like that. They are incredibly precise.
So I did want to ask about that. These photos, I don't see too many close-ups that you sent me here. There's just this one here that actually is quite nice with the blade pointing down. But I don't see any close-ups. How is the gapping or lack thereof on the inlays?
The seams, as it were.
Yeah.
So I would say 95% of it is like impeccable. You can't feel the transition even between
Oh wow.
the G10 and the steel. There is one spot where you can just minorly feel there's a slight height variation,
A ridge.
but you can't see it.
It is really just
The
like
only
a sensation. It's like it's just there. Yeah.
It's
That's
barely
nice.
there. And I kind of like it. It's right in the center of the knife. It's right where your thumb kind of lays. It's a nice tactile
So
spot, quite honestly.
one thing I could say, as far as just a small level of insight, without getting too far into the weeds with this, to achieve inlays with that tight of a tolerance, effectively what companies like this are going to want to do is, I'm assuming 3D machining, because doing this by hand is ridiculous at this price point.
Yeah.
You're going to have an end mill that does these finishing passes over and over at the same exact, like you're doing the exact same path over and over, because material will actually flex as you mill into it. What you want is a series of end mills doing the same path, but each one is more crisp and clean than the last, so that you can get to a point where your last finishing pass is done with a basically brand new end mill, and it
Yeah.
barely removes any material, but it's just perfect in order to get that sort of transition line. Because you don't want to have to hand sand any of this stuff, because as soon as you do, that's more money spent into hand labor, right?
Well,
But at the
you're
same
changing the
time,
finish on.
yeah. You'd still be changing the finish on it. And I'm not sure, they probably do some sort of hand sanding or hand grinding, but to get the actual profile of it to match, that's pretty impressive. That's got to cost them in terms of end mills being used.
I was going to bank it on soft wooden mallets. That was going to be my guess, for sure.
You can get away with that with wood inlays to a degree. Actually, that is a technique for keyholing. Actually, for those curious, go watch videos of guys doing keyhole designs for fixed blades if you want to see some really crazy fit ups. It gets kind of dicey with some hardwoods. You can ruin stuff real fast. But I'm very, very happy to hear that the inlays are clean. Could you show us what the reverse of the knife looks like the lock side? Yeah, see, that's the other thing. This is a liner lock, and I was very excited about that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very nice that it's matched.
I'm gonna have a hard time not buying this one.
Going through. And quite honestly, as I'm sitting here talking about how the inlays fit, the only place where you can feel anything at all is right across that ridge in the center, and it's on both sides identically. It almost feels like an intentional choice.
Okay.
Like it's a spot that's just kind of there. You know what I mean?
Well, or if that piece is inserted, it's inserted from one side down into the other type of thing. So that could be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it could be a remnant of the manufacturer, but it is nice that it's matching on both sides.
Mm-hmm.
If I had to hazard a guess, does the steel feel like it's higher than the G10? Almost imperceptibly?
Yes.
G10's probably just been hand sanded. It's just worn away a little bit faster. Just a little bit faster than that steel. Oh, that's so cool. All right.
So also fancy anodized pivot collar on that bad boy. The clip choice, I don't know. They're still working on their clips.
They're not still working. They're not changing their clips from this.
I know.
Are you kidding me?
It's very signature, right? But yeah.
I will agree. That is the one part of the series, and there isn't really a good photo of this particular knife, but here's a picture of the Glimpse, which has a very similar style clip. I don't really care if a knife has particularly shallow carry, but
I like features of this clip, and I don't like other features of this clip.
I would imagine, looking at this mini clips, that looks like it's comfortable, because it looks like it should just sit in the swallow of the palm of your hand and not bite anything when you grip it.
Yeah.
That's the case? Yeah.
Yeah,
How was it on the other guy?
And I know that the other thing with those clips as well, and I think I've talked to even J-Bo about it, is the pinch spot that you can retract that thing properly with. And when
Yeah.
you do have a not deep carry, pros and cons, but the one pro to it is it does give you a nicer purchase to be able to slide it in and out of your pocket, right? So
I have said
100%.
that numerous times in the past. Yeah, absolutely.
I
That's
think I've said that about the smock in the past too. It's just like
Yep.
it's kind of nice to have that pinch point.
well, the smock's pushing it. I mean, how much do you need
It's
to
no,
pinch?
it's no worse than the glimpse here. Look at that.
I don't know. You measure the mills out of the pocket. It's a race.
Mm.
Like,
Glimpse might come under a tiny bit, but yeah, not by much in my mind. But
either way,
aesthetic choice. Aesthetic. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say the ball end though is quite nice as far as gripping on the pocket and
So the one thing that's always kind of gotten me about those clips is the tendency for them to ride up out of the pocket. I don't know if you had much pocket time with these guys around the shop, but
unfortunately.
the one thing I personally noticed about the ceramic ball clips is the retention on, like, it might ride up. I haven't had too much of an issue with that when I was playing with the Astio before this. But the one thing I noticed is that it actually sat really well, didn't have a lot of problem like riding or anything, but still had enough retention to slide off the lip. Like, it wouldn't come out without you wanting it to.
Yeah.
But it might solve the chew the crap out of your pocket thing a little bit, as that ball is a little bit smoother as it rolls past the seam of your pants, right? So
Yeah. That's very much the way I felt about it.
and when I say rolls, it doesn't roll. It's
I want to
just
say there are some clips out there aside from the Michael Walker clips with the little wheel that actually have moving parts for your pants.
See,
the G&G Hawk, I think they have a clip that does that. It's a little weird.
I've thought that, but then after going back and looking, all of the ones that I thought were just ceramic ball clips that didn't actually roll. I'd like to see one. I'd have to go back and actually, or if you know of a video, we can actually go and check one out that does have a moving clip. Like you said, other than the Walker wheel, which come on. Anyway,
it's got its own super tiny ball bearings. No, it doesn't.
now that would be cool. It's ball bearings in your wheel clip of that's a whole different level of nerd.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I want to say that there's been some custom makers that have used like synthetic ruby.
That's kind of what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Like,
Ricardo Vasquez last comment is asking about the micro jumbo. None of us have actually handled it. I think the bigger jumbo was the right way to go. I guess the smaller one is, a nicer mini tough if you don't own a mini tough yet, but
maybe
maybe
a picture there to show
a mini tough. Yeah. Anyway, it's not a knife we're talking about or reviewing right now. I'm sure we will review it as soon as we get it because they are on back order as soon as they're available. But yeah, I might be pleasantly surprised, but it's low on my total poll.
It's fair.
Anyway,
other questions you guys have for me?
As far as that choil on the mini clips, it's not a finger choil. That's just a deep as crap sharpening, or is it?
You would run the risk of catching yourself. You could get in there.
Is it like a smock finger choil?
A little bit, yeah.
Kind of in that same wheelhouse. That's what it looked like to me. It didn't look like a finger choil. It looked like a trap. But,
like, I don't think I would need to round that corner on the spot, like the back of that choil, to reduce the risk of getting cut. I think you just be mindful of what you're doing and you'd be fine. But it's definitely a use at your own risk kind of choil.
No, it is kind of funny that the mini glimpse is actually larger than the Diamici by 0.2. Yeah, and Paul, if you actually have noticed, are basically the same size.
Yeah, there. Oh, can I? I think
No,
I
you're
actually have
just
pictures
gone.
side by side.
I
Yeah.
popped up that picture there. Yeah, they're not too far off from each other.
They're really similar.
Yeah.
But
Um,
not at the same time,
It,
right?
it's
So
probably in the handle, like as it comes down to the point.
yeah, and speaking of that weird palmely thing going on the mini glimpse that doesn't seem to hinder too much on the grip.
No, I dig this. I like this knife a lot.
How do you like the blue in person?
It's it's more like Benchmade cool gray than it is blue. It's blue, but it's like
okay.
I'm trying to think of another color that might be similar to. I don't know. I think I know where you're going with that one, but yeah.
it's not as gray as like the Benchmade Ballet,
Yeah,
but
that
it
was one that
it
popped up.
leans that direction.
Is it like Spyderco Hat 40 blue?
Because that was pretty pale. Yeah.
Mm. It's
I think of the Hat 40 Meerkat in particular because it didn't have
yeah, yeah,
the
yeah,
FRN.
yeah.
It had the smoothie
Right.
blue to it, right?
It would have been right in that realm.
Okay.
Absolutely, it would.
Okay.
For point of reference, for this photo in particular, what would you say that the blue in the pivot collar on the Diamicis, would you say that's fairly similar to a bug out in person? Because it looks
Yeah,
pretty similar to bug out color
that's a
here.
Benchmade blue for sure.
Okay,
The,
so assuming that that's the color balancing was fine in this photo, that's the kind of relationship you could expect.
these these are pretty true to life, quite honestly.
Okay, fair enough. Awesome.
Yeah.
That's good to hear. So talking a little bit about this hump down here, up on the full steel guy, well, mostly more steel, the more steel guy, because I'm trying to avoid just saying the name again. How are the ergos on that? You managed to get all four fingers up, or does it feel like your pinky's kind of slipping?
No,
You got room?
Little
I
room
got
to
room.
spare, even. Yeah.
Oh wow.
I guess
Okay.
like I can get a little bit of a handshake grip on it pretty comfortably. It's zero tolerance 450.
Oh. Oh shit! I'm gonna buy this knife.
Yeah, it's very
Everything.
much like a 450.
Ah, damn it. Okay, cool. Um, because every
It's
time I
nice.
see like a knife that has a relatively straight section towards the back end of the handle, and then kind of ends on a 90 degree or more than a 90 degree, I always get worried about that feeling like you're slipping off the handle at the very end of the grip. But you're saying this feels pretty comfy.
Yeah, haven't had any complaints.
Awesome.
The it even has like this angle back in the back here, kind of tucks into your palm,
Yeah,
so it kind of almost extends it a little bit.
that's pretty
It's pretty
cool.
comfortable, and it's also we were talking about the pocket clip on the mini glimpse, but also pretty nice and ergonomic, pretty straight. Like doesn't leave a mark on your hand if you're. Oh, I disappeared. Um,
Leaves no mark, leaves no trace. It's
yeah.
just, yeah.
Look at the eyes. God.
So weird question, but it's
Yeah.
something I look at, especially when you're talking about ball bearings. How exposed are the ball bearings when you close the knife? How like out there can you just like hello world? Because that's something I do actually look at, especially on ball bearings. Is some of them are tucked in very nicely, and some of them are just like hello world.
These are both tucked right away.
Oh, the Diamicis really with that stainless steel handle. It's like, yeah,
Yeah. They did a really nice job of
nice.
bringing everything together here.
I'm trying to think of an example where it's just like even the staggering is
So
just like, oh, there it is. Like it's yeah.
I've seen this happen more often with frame locks where as the knife is open, when the frame comes down to lock the blade tang in place, you can see sometimes the cage for the bearings. ZTs
Yeah.
have this happen on their skinnier knives a lot of times. Um, but this is a liner lock, so you don't got to worry about that
Yeah.
at all.
But even things um like the proxy from Benchmade, the flipper that they made, some of the spider coats with ball bearings,
Oh,
stuff like that. You can
yeah.
see even the construction when you close them, you're just like, oh, you're
Oh,
just asking for all sorts of crap to fall in
I
there.
think
I can see.
that's just a lint trap. Yeah.
Yeah, I think there must be a decent amount of counter milling either on the inside of the handles or on the blade tang or both in order to
Yeah,
accommodate
and
that,
again,
which is a
even
feature
Yeah,
that's pretty common these days, which is good.
the
they
credit
both have
on like,
internal stop pins as well.
I
okay,
did.
okay. Um, yeah, sorry, I was just going to comment about the internal milling and like things like the narrows that we reviewed not too long
Mhm.
ago, where you're just like, yeah, tuck it away. Jesus Christ, man, it doesn't have to just be sitting proud all the time, right? So
So on that note, I'm looking at the inside of the glimpse right now, and they are full steel liners, and there is no milling whatsoever. And those steel liners are pretty thick. So I think you're right, Dennis, as far as being like, we want to hit this weight profile. So we can get away with having these thicker liners.
the guys nowadays when they're designing these knives, they're engineering these knives, like it's down to such a science as well as the art behind it, right?
Yeah.
And if you actually sit down and talk to Jared in any sort of length of discussion, like these are not things that are overlooked. Like that's not an accident that one has one and one has the other. I almost guarantee it. There was balance points that were considered and in your hand cutting and like it just yeah. So
It's good to know that he's taking his job as a designer seriously because
and not just that, but feeding from other designers and realizing
yeah.
where some of these other designers have strength, whether it's him talking to Sinkovich or him talking to Jesper or whatever, or Begg or Elschwitz or Lightfoot that he's had experiences with. Rod Olson, I can't wait to get my hands on a goddamn microburst. Come on, Begg knives, get
Yeah.
your shit together.
There
Anyway,
you go.
sorry. I like you. I like you, Begg. Joe, how's your beer?
Empty.
Okay, I'll grab one for us.
Appreciate it.
Um, yeah, the finishing work that they did on both of these is completely different from each other, but also
Thank you.
super spot on.
Oh, why? Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
That's the price of you getting another beer.
Yeah, pretty much.
Words mean nothing to me right now.
See you in a minute. Yeah. So this bottle opener
Hey, look,
definitely,
words
definitely.
mean things again.
There you go. I was gonna say this bottle opener definitely works, but you gotta like do two of the little flanges on beer bottles most of the time. It's a little silly.
It's
That's
functional, but not great.
that's the phalanges, by the way.
It just takes two motions to open instead of one. It's all good. It's all good. Thank you for that again.
You're
guess-
breaking reality. Justin's comment on the stream.
You're killing the immersion. Don't show me.
It's like the goddamn Truman Show all of a sudden.
Still is delicious when it's cold.
In my face, yeah.
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 The only other thing I guess I have to say about the design aspect in terms of like the consistency is again that balance point, being able to nail that relationship between the two, knowing that it's like at roughly the same place behind the index finger slightly so that it feels like it's sitting in your hand, knowing that's a design choice, but being able to do that with two different blade steel thicknesses. That's something that would be very easy to overlook if you weren't really thinking about it and doing your math correctly.
Well, and honestly, even just length of backspacer at that point can be what we need to fine tune it. Is how many T-Rex humps are we going to give it? Little Stegosaurus.
How many jimps is acceptable? Yeah.
Yeah.
Only one if they're in your basement, but that's okay. It's.
I want to watch Pulp Fiction again. Anyway.
Did you just call him a gimp? I hate you both.
Well, we can't figure out if the C in this one is hard or soft, so I figured like it's.
Yeah. You guys say gimp too, you monsters?
Yeah, well, blame my cousin.
There are days and there are days. I'm going to
cousin
throw up some
here.
size comparisons here because you did take a few. Here's the standard. Well, it's not the standard dragonfly for these photos, but it's a dragonfly with these photos.
The
Um,
completely irrelevant size comparison.
Yeah. It is pretty relevant though, because I mean, a dragonfly is basically a 4-finger grip for anyone. Like,
Yeah,
pretty much anyone.
I will admit, like if you're looking even at the Diamici or Diamici or Diamicis, it's actually not that far off from finger grip area if you're sitting behind the flipper tab, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And that's what a lot of people, when you're looking at that handle length in particular on a flipper, like all the pivot forward is not
Just
really usable handle, right? Like,
No.
Yeah.
That is one reason I like top or what would you call them, corner flippers, like what the Smock and my Vero have. That's why I like them. They get out of the way. But
yeah,
but that is pretty cool. Man, that just makes me want that knife even more. I don't have that many small knives, and that's no.
So here's a comment, and I don't know, maybe Paul can comment more because I haven't played with said knives, so I'm not 100% sure. Did they compensate with the fact that they didn't put any lanyard on the Diamici by putting too much of a lanyard hole on the mini glimpse? Or like,
it's a little reserved.
Because I think I can put my belt through that. I don't know.
Yeah, so like you could put a proper sword knot through this thing. So if you're riding into battle on your steed, you don't have to worry about losing your knife.
Wow.
I'd worry about a few other things if but anyway.
The follow-up question with that is, when you're riding your steed, do you slap your steed's ass or your own ass? It's
first one, then the other.
You clip them both on the way.
You alternate. Yeah, it's simultaneous. You gotta get a rile out of everybody.
Here's a slightly different angle showing off some blade grinds. That's pretty cool.
Oh yeah, hollow versus flat. Look at them go.
Yep.
Yeah.
I read those things earlier, didn't I?
I think you did. Somebody said it.
Yeah, you sure did. You mentioned it.
A hollow on the mini
and
standard
finally,
flat. Yeah,
it's a nice color.
Here's Paul just flexing all over us. But I'm gonna show it off anyway. Because why not? Yeah. So the Holt isn't exactly a huge knife, but it does kind of highlight how mini these guys actually are, which is nice.
Yeah, I would call this a full-sized knife.
I'd say the haptic is bug out sized, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
100%.
Oh, so like mini bug out. Oh, okay.
Well, I would not even put it in mini bug out. Maybe mini reptilian. Maybe yeah.
Yeah, I guess mini bug out is like a 2.8 inch instead of a 3. So yeah, that's fair. I don't think we talked about price. Do we? I was just thinking about that because like, well, the top and bottom knives in this particular picture are different league entirely. But yeah.
I want to say MSRP on the mini glimpse is Hundo American.
Yeah, I want to say it's like $129.
Yeah. And so CAD polar bear dollars, yeah. And so the Diamici, I believe, is $149 American.
And I want to say it's $179, $189 on our shelf. I don't remember 100%. From being honest.
Cool. But I don't even know. These might be so fresh that they might not even be on our website yet, cuttingedgecutleryco.com. That'll happen soon enough, but I'm at a convention. Leave us alone.
The guy who's responsible for doing it is
also at the convention, handing me beer out this door and then acting like I can still be a dick in the next room with Joe. It's fine.
It's all right.
So I don't know if I have a good picture of it, but the mini glimpse, is there a picture of the backspacer? I don't know.
Not really. I can zoom in to some, but yeah, there's not really. Oh no, I'm sorry. There is one right here that does show the ridges, but it's like right spine down. Is this what you meant?
Yes.
Okay. Cool.
So you can kind of see in this image the raised sections are of a higher polish.
So they're radiused and polished and fluid.
They are.
Wow.
Yes. And they're like two-tone. It's like almost like a brushed finish on the inside, and then polished on the surface. It's really nice.
That is a small little detail that's kind of fancy.
Yeah.
The liners are also exposed in this area.
Yeah.
So you get extra solidity off of locking into the G10 from the backside. Okay, that's kind of interesting.
Well, they were
I
doing as much as they possibly could to detract from the pocket clip. You see, so
I suppose, but
I was
but
going to say
honestly,
manageable, but
I yeah, I mean, but honestly, I don't really. I can't think of too many examples where you see protruding liners from an inset like G10 or whatever frame. Um, like this outside of like an axis lock or the tab that you would press for a liner lock. I can't think of too many examples where they've done it like this, both for an artistic reason and a structural reason.
I can, but there's silly things like rescue knives or hunting knives with gut hooks or rescue hooks.
Oh, okay, so that
That's
definitely leaned more to the they had to kind of deal.
the
Yeah.
example that I can think of off the top of my head is quite often
Okay.
you'll see those things that have them, but again, very rarely on a design language because we wanna. And again, this might be a balance thing. Maybe they had to have steel going all the way to the end.
well, and I
Maybe,
think
yeah.
it could very well be. I know the liners and the like the more satin sections of the backspacer match very well. So it could be one or the other. But I definitely think that if they had to have them exposed, they were like, let's make this a feature. And it worked out very well.
Yeah, it looks nice.
They're quite well rounded too. So as far as like, it's a fairly aggressive backspacer,
Mm-hmm.
Now,
but it's
question on
comfortable.
this one too, because I don't even know, but with this kind of like look and whatever, I wonder if some of the glimpses or the mini glimpses or any of the custom work that's been out there were integrals. Because when you see the G10 come over top like that with the six fairs, well, I don't know. I don't
I
know.
don't.
Maybe.
Very well,
Yeah, I don't know
He
enough
had
about Begg
some.
designs for that. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, it's me just throwing it out there. I was like, oh, I wonder if he ever did some integrals and it had some similar design language, even though they decided not to do an integral on this particular model, right? Like, it's weird.
Is that Tang and Spine crowned? And if so, how
completely.
completely? So it just goes back all the way to the grind for the lockup?
It goes all the way back. Oh, can I even get a picture? Yes. Perfectly rounded all the way back there.
Like
Wow.
lion steel styles.
And how?
Yep.
And this knife is 100 American. That's impressive.
Yeah.
And there's a different chamfer on the flipper where
That
it's
was
like a
the.
35.
You guys are good. You guys are good. You got both of my follow ups on that. That's excellent.
Yeah, it's about a 45-degree chamfer on the flipper. So it still grips without slipping, where I think if you had it rounded like the spine, you'd be all over the place.
Now this one does look like it's a little bit of a softer detent. Is that consistent? No.
No,
Okay.
it's pretty snappy.
Maybe it's the lack of sound when you flick it. Because I don't think the mic is picking it up.
It's good. I've been flicking it a lot.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right, yeah. That was the one concern from before the last Begg knives that we the Astio.
Yeah.
Some of the detent was like super snappy and like, oh yeah, this is pretty crisp. And then there was one or two I think that were a little kind of mushy. But if you're saying this is good, then yeah, that's
It's hard to get this thing. Like I don't know if I could actually get it to fail the way it goes off. Like I'd have to
that's
do it incorrectly.
yeah, like you'd have to purposefully. Yeah,
Yeah.
very cool, very cool. Does this one have a stationary stop pin or is it locked into the blade?
It's locked into the blade.
Nice.
Yeah, it's
That's
actually right at the back, basically just above the lock bar.
very cool.
Yeah.
Is the Diamici the same thing? Diamici.
Yes, and a very similar location actually.
Very
It's
cool. That's a feature I like to see on these types of knives.
just above where it cuts in for the lock bar there.
Super cool.
Yeah. There's rounding definitely feels like they're part of the theme on this knife. Like all of the G10 is fully rounded. It's I would say it's flat in the center, but it's rounded so far up, almost like a Spartaco Shaman.
I was actually going to ask about that. Like it
Yeah.
does look very reminiscent to the Shaman, probably partially because it is G10 and you get that kind of stippled looking texture. Like you can see the breaks in the weave.
Yeah.
So evidently that's a feature that guys are willing to pay a lot of money for. It's super cool to see it on an option that's at the $100 mark. Because that was the big thing with the Astio was just like it's a bit of an ask for like guys looking at a spec sheet sees the materials list isn't necessarily going to be wowed by it the same way. But it looks like they're hitting all the check marks. You were saying the ergos are pretty good, the balance is decent, the design is obviously on point. Is there anything you noticed that was kind of like, really wish they had done this differently, or something that kind of sat a little weird with you on either of these knives?
So there's one thing that we haven't touched on yet on the other one that I'll bring up if it doesn't come up.
Okay.
Um, I've been quite happy with this one overall. I liked it right at like as soon as I picked it up, it was one of those ones where I was like, oh no. Mm,
Yeah, you're gonna own it at
all
some
right.
point.
And I might, yeah. I like the that kind of Warncliffy blade shape that it has, and
Mm,
it
So
it
also very kind of like sister companion with the Begg Knives Bodega.
yes.
I think that's also a big part of it too, is I don't have anything that is a Begg design, and this definitely harkens back to something that I see as very um Begg-esque, if that makes sense.
Yeah. The design language is definitely there.
Yeah. But yeah. There's not much to really complain about.
So again,
It-
even the grind on the Bodega when you're looking at it has a very similar like hollow swedgy blah, blah, blah. It just happens to be more harpoony than it is Spearport Warncliffe type of thing, right? So yeah.
How aggressive is that forwards cutting angle on the mini glimpse? Because it looks like it wants to like come forward and yeah, shit, that actually looks really awesome.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's dude, like I said, I liked it right off the hop.
Now, here's a question for you. Because it's a hollow grind, it looks like it's a pretty good cutter, but up towards the tip, that grind does get kind of wedgy looking. Do they compensate with the hollow enough that like the fur of the first like kind of like before the first hole a little thicker?
Well, I was just shaving curls off that paper with the tip, so
Yeah. Okay.
So it's
it's
sharp, but as far as like the actual thickness, like let's say at the termination of the swedge grind line along from the center line down from the tip, do you feel it like
it,
increase in thickness as you like as you go from the tip towards the pivot?
a
Like
little bit,
uh,
almost like Tonto style, where it thickens up just a little bit, but it
It's
okay.
just
doesn't.
when you're
It's
looking
not
at it,
about.
even the hollow grind, if you're looking at the bottom half of that knife, the back half of it, the hollow grind is significantly higher, and it does actually get smaller and smaller and smaller as you're working towards the point. So I'm wondering if they had a distal taper on the spine enough to compensate for the shallower hollow grind on the tip compared to the deeper hollow grind on
And you can
the
definitely
back.
see it. But I think it's a feature of, hey, let's reinforce this tip a little bit so that we don't end up with a super, super fine tip.
For a general use utility knife, I think that's a smart choice.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did give you a little bit of belly on that edge too, so it's not
They
like they're
did.
expecting it just a straight piercer. It's yeah. Um, hmm.
When you play with the Diamici, does it ting because of the stainless steel flipper?
Well, really, it's a solid thwack.
It's a pretty dampened. Well, I know you guys know what I'm talking about when you get this,
Absolutely.
like, especially with stainless steel handles, flippers
Yeah.
for some reason that all of a sudden, and maybe it's frame locks again more than it is liner locks. Maybe liner locks are dampened with the engagement, but sometimes when you get that flipper on a stainless steel handled knife and you get that like ting and like tuning fork type of bullshit.
I think the G10 is definitely helping take some of that out as well, as far
And
as the
probably the
inlay.
internal milling as well as the external. Like again, kind of like the narrows. How much actual steel is in between if you got this way and this way cut out, and like what's
Yeah.
what's
Yeah.
tinging? There's nothing tinging in there. That's
There's nothing to ting, bro.
There's nutting there. Yeah, there you
Oh,
go.
Oh, the
so
dad jokes have been bad this week, guys. I'm just telling you.
And I wasn't responsible for most of them, for the record.
Most of them were still yours truly because that's what I do, but they were not good.
No. Good
have
isn't the
either
point.
one of you noticed on the mini glimpse the lock bar?
So how it kind of like extrudes further from the grip?
It's a little sticky outy.
Yeah. So that doesn't stand out to you when gripping the knife?
It does not, like, you can feel it. You might feel that if you were like really hard using. No, you probably would feel that if you were like sliding around on your knife.
Right.
That's not fun. I don't often end up in a situation where I'm doing a lot of that kind of work with my folding
I'm
knives.
doing a soft massage, just a deep tissue massage on my knife.
Why
Yeah.
is my knife covered in tissue? Don't worry about it. We'll talk about that never.
Oh,
That,
Only if it's
um,
deep tissue.
because like it does work like a cantilever. You're putting pressure down on the edge. It's gonna lever that into your index finger. So I get maybe if you're
and
going through cardboard or something, you're just sitting there just plowing through stuff. Like, okay,
in in one position, it's not too bad. It's only when you start sliding back and forth on it where it's like, oh, okay.
it's definitely there. Yeah. The other
If
one
your hand
doesn't
were to
look.
slip, it would chew you up a little bit.
Yeah, yeah. My finger is a little bit raw. It's got like a almost like a numb tingle too, where I was rubbing the jumping against right now.
Disengagement for the lock bar must be very nice then because of you do have the exposed liner.
Super easy to disengage. The one thing I actually was going to describe this lock bar as being bent like a highlight, and I was wrong. I looked closer, and the bar is straight, but they actually mill on the inside here. Oh,
I don't
here.
think. Yeah.
If you can see it just in the light there, it's like almost like a little moon
Oh,
kind of.
there is a little chamfer.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
That's
it's
nice.
super comfortable as far as the disengagement. It
So
disengages like a highlight.
it looks like a
Nice.
cutout on a GB1 or a GB2 is what that looks like on the
But
like where the
better
chips.
access. But better
Yeah,
access to it.
Better
Yeah.
access, but yeah, that same kind of crescenty cutout
Hmm.
type of thing going on, right? So yeah.
Yeah. I will say I'm a little sad to hear that it is uncomfortable sliding back on that glimpse. The knife that comes to mind for me is my the CRKT Shalotl. That dagger flipper actually does have a little protruding liner, but the jimping is so mild that it does add texture. It does help lock you in a little bit, but if you loosen your grip, it doesn't chew you up because it's so smooth. It looks like the jimping on this mini glimpse is actually about as aggressive as the jimping on the backspacer. Maybe that was intentional to line that up aesthetically, but do you think it would be any better were you to soften it with like some very high grit sandpaper, or is it a little like do you think that'd be too much work?
so it's not a sharp edge. It's really just like the actual like jimping.
It's
But
just the geometry of it.
you could probably modify it if you were particular about it.
If you're
You
that
could probably
bothered,
go
okay.
even with a file and knock that back and still have enough access to that bar because of the cutout that they made into it.
So the real question, which one has more holes, the mini glimpse or the Astio? In the
Um,
blade. I know the Astio has like
None.
no, that's the
Oh, the
Diamici.
Astio.
Yeah.
Right. Yes. Yes.
Because
Um,
the Astio has a bunch of holes in the blade. It says there's some holes in the handle, I think, too. But I counted 7 on that some bitch. Yeah. 7, I
One,
say.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, there you go.
And the
Almost like he's
Astio
doing it on
has
purpose.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, yeah, 7. That's fine.
7, eh? Huh.
Lucky number 7.
But the Astio has a lot of goddamn screws in the handle. So there's
My,
that.
my Rhino only has 5 in the handle. So
Oh man,
I'm just
I mean,
wondering about some JVO designs here. Maybe he's just like, oh man, I don't even know what design. All right, 7 holes, bam, there you go. That fills in that goal.
It's not even that there's like dots along the handle. I don't mind that aesthetically. It's fine. I don't mind daggers that have, for instance, that have like a ton of pins in the handle or something like that. It's just the fact that like if I ever want to take this stupid thing apart, it's gonna take forever. Oh man.
Wasn't there some stupid company that actually made like some sort of like attached blade that had like another blade attached to it? I was just thinking about this thing being a razor knife that you could just break the edge off and then put a new one on. And I was
yeah,
like, wasn't there some stupid
there
company?
there was
What's that?
There definitely was. You're absolutely spot on there that existed.
yeah,
Was it CKF?
They may
Sorry?
have done a. Was it? He asked if it was CKF, a custom knife factory. They may have
Sounds
done a
like that.
collab with the designer who did it. I know that there were a number of customs that were specifically all about that. I
It
mean,
wasn't a
Vlad.
break-off blade. It was a blade that just looked like
You
it was
could
a
unbolt
break-off.
it.
Well, this
Yeah,
was one where
unbolt
like
it,
you
yeah.
could unbolt it and then replace it with a different. Yeah. I mean, from what I remember, the
Snap it into a
customs.
comb and stuff like that.
There was
Was
a
it that one?
comb. There was a comb option, but there was also like a Warncliffe and I think a Tonto or a draw point or something. And on the face of it, it's like that's kind of neat, but for the level of trouble that goes into this, why wouldn't you just give them extra blades? Like, I don't know. Anyway,
I know Nick Shabazz talked about one for sure at the very least.
oh yeah,
Either
yeah.
way, I'm just being a smart ass for being like, oh, that's where the bolts go, where you reattach the blade after you break it off. So
Oh, there we go.
So,
You know,
go ahead.
oh, my comment was entirely stupid. I was just gonna say you could cast some kind of low melting temperature metal into the fuller of this blade and then sand it smooth to match the steel because the holes would allow the fullers to match up, so it's all one piece once it's cast. You could do it with bismuth, and you could end up with beautiful patterns and colors throughout the blade that would actually not affect anything and just be kind of pretty. Um, there's a lot of things you could do to mod this knife actually that are just kind of interesting, but yeah.
That is pretty neat, actually. So one of the things I'm noticing as I'm just sitting here playing with both of these is where we describe this one as being very shaman-esque, Sprydico shaman-esque as far as the milling.
Right.
The Diamici is definitely squarer in its corners, but does actually give you the barest hint of like radius.
It's kind of like the Astio, hey?
Yeah, it's actually really nice.
That's
It's
cool. I like that. I like that.
slightly round. Yeah.
See,
But go ahead.
I was just gonna say that's been anytime I see a handle that's got that, like at the very least, kind of a slight contour, if not something a little bit more complicated. Very nice touch. Very nice touch to add. And I realize it adds machine time, but it's worth it. I think in most cases. Yeah.
Absolutely. It the chamfering on this one is all at that like kind of like 45 degree. The blade, like all the mating surfaces seem to be like that. The lock bar doesn't protrude as much.
Still
And the
pretty good
jimping is
access
more
to it.
rounded off. Yeah, it's this one you won't feel at all. Like it's
The more I'm looking at that knife, especially in your hand, it's like, man, I kind of want it. Kind of really want it.
there's one other thing, and you can actually see it in this photo, that it's something that's really hard to feel in person, but the photo, I didn't notice it until after I took the photo of it. Do you notice?
That spot in the G10 towards the back end of the handle?
Yes.
Yeah, but yeah, we should probably talk about that.
Yeah. So it is a very slight texture difference is the easiest way that I can describe it. I can't really feel it if I run like the ball of my thumb over it, but if I run my thumbnail, it's slightly rougher in that area.
So I'm guessing that would be a blemish of some sort from factory. Did we get multiples of this in for you to check out? Do you know if this happened on the others as well?
I I don't remember seeing it on the other knife, but I didn't spend that much time actually looking, if I'm being
You
honest.
you did say too that like you noticed it in the photo and then checked. So I mean that's entirely fair. I don't think something like that would really be intentional. I wonder. I know this is a tedious question, but like, do you think you'd be able to sand the quote unquote damage out?
You probably could. I so I was thinking about this before, and my mindset kind of was like if I was presented with like three or four of these and all of them were normal and then this one was slightly off, I would probably pick one of the other ones. But if I ordered it online, say for example, and I received it, I personally would probably accept it with its little oddity,
Right.
if that makes sense. It's because, like I said, it's almost impossible to tell it's there. It feels like something that is going to like pocket polish out even for you. It's
Okay.
such a minor difference. Like I said, it's hard to even tell that it's there unless you, yeah, that's
And even then, you're like having trouble detecting it on your fingernail.
exactly
Yeah,
where it is. Yeah,
that's fair. Yeah. I mean, again, at the price point, kind of wish that this would be taken care of,
yeah,
but you're right. I mean, if this were me, I'd probably just take some polishing paste to it and just smooth the entire thing out and redo the whole handle.
And
Uh,
when you say at this price point, I don't know. You bought CRKTs, dude.
yeah, I don't mind
But
modifying my shit to make it my own, but yeah.
yeah, I get that. But like, I mean, the one that always stands out in my mind in the last couple, like, it's the seismic from CRKT, and you put a
Oh
dead
well,
bolt on something, and like you charge $200 the croup steel or whatever it is. Like yeah,
it was
okay,
like
sure. Like
it
we've
was
got
like
this discoloration on the G10, but we've got seams that are awesome. We've got all this milling. We've got all this. Blah, blah, blah. I don't think price point is necessary. Like D2, yeah, yeah, yeah. But
I'll be honest with you. I think this is probably an oddity more than a regular feature of the line
almost
because
certainly.
looking at the other um, inlays, you don't see it. Like even on the inlay that's under the pocket clip, where they might try and hide something like that, you don't see it.
And yes, I buy CRKTs, but I gotta be honest. Up until the $150 price point, at least for 150 Canadian, then I might start to care about tiny blemishes like this. But like Paul says, given the option between one that has a blemish and one that doesn't, obviously I'd take the one that doesn't.
yeah, yeah,
But
for sure.
I do wish though that given everything going into this and giving the competition being Civivi mainly for these types of materials at these types of prices. And I realize there's a lot more milling going on here than there is typically with Civivi. That whole argument still stands from the last time we reviewed the SteelCraft series. Um, this is something that should be addressed. And honestly, if you contacted them for warranty support and be like, hey, I bought your knife and it came scuffed from factory, they probably would take care of you. I have no reason to believe that they wouldn't. I just don't know what kind of a pain in the ass that might be to get it done.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah,
That's fair.
yeah. Don't have any personal experience in that realm at the moment.
Yeah. Um.
Java?
I don't know what you guys, but
Huh,
I think we've
that's
pretty
interesting.
much covered what we need to.
I think so. Yeah.
So, oh,
Oh,
I disappeared again. It's hard to see. This one has the Javo design um on it, but the mini glimpse does not.
There was something about that.
that's interesting. It's interesting.
Yeah.
maybe that's not a collab. He's usually pretty good at, throwing his mark on, letting people know that type of thing, right? But yeah, I would have to look into that myself.
Yeah,
Uh,
I don't
that might
actually
be
know.
why I see more Begg in this one. This one
I th
definitely has more of a J-Lo
I
vibe
think
to
that
it.
one might actually be either a design fully owned by Begg or at the very least not Javo affiliated.
Hmm.
Because even the description for the knives, uh there's mention of Jared actually for the Diamici or Diamici.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
there's nothing in the description about any designer except for it being a staple like the bodega in the Begg line.
Ah, gotcha. So yeah, I could be mistaken on that one. It might just be a solo bag on that one.
And given the design language, it's not terribly surprising to be honest.
No, no,
The
no, no.
unfortunate thing for me means that I have to get a bag design, but I also at some point need to get myself a Javo design. So
Yeah.
Mm-hmm,
Well, hey,
mm-hmm.
there's a oh, I'm sorry, not a starburst.
Microburst.
Microburst. Yeah, there's a
You get
microburst.
you get the hell away from my microburst.
I'll show you a
you're gonna buy it
microburst.
first just to spite them.
Oh, just to piss him right off.
Yeah.
I'll
Honestly,
prepay for a code that doesn't exist, Paul. Like, don't play that game with me. I have more loopholes than you do.
this is also not a Jared design, I don't think, but the Quaken is the other one that I'm interested in.
Nice.
Yeah. Honestly, the
I imagine
SteelCraft.
since they're using the word Quaken, I don't know. I don't know. I don't
I
know if
don't.
he'd get.
I don't think Quaken is a word that's owned by anybody at the moment.
No, I don't think Burnley has rights to it because if anyone did, you would think it would probably be Lucas Burnley, right? But
I feel like it's like isn't it a type of Japanese knife?
Well, a Kaiken, like a
what did you call
Kaien.
me?
You heard me. Uh, so that's a style of Tonto.
Okay.
Think lacquered furniture, but no guard, no pommel, no yeah.
Okay.
Hey, speaking of Renishi, yeah, kind of like that, but just schmoll. So I think Quaken is like that. There's some connection there. I'm just not 100% sure what that is exactly.
If only we had some sort of mythical device where we could look at the information up.
Oh, I suppose I could
You
literally just Google that word, couldn't I? Hold on a second.
stop making it too easy, Paul.
Quaken. Oh, second result, Wikipedia. Kaiken, dagger.
There you go.
And yep. Okay, so orthography. Due to pronunciation changes over time, the blade's name has shifted from Kwaiken to Kaiken. So Kwaiken is the Quaken is the older version, and Kaiken is the newer way of referring to these things.
Okay. So Burnley's like, no,
Interesting.
learn your grammar, fuckers.
Take a goddamn class, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Okay, and so here's some information if you want to pause and read. But interesting, useful for self-defense in indoor spaces where the long-bladed katana woman carried them in their kimono. Yeah, all right. I mean, that kind of fits with everything James Williams has been,
Okay. This is like
propagating.
up the sleeve kind of nonsense. I'm into
Yeah,
it.
so some sneaky action, some sneaky good times.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's that. I think I have a link here for the. I just want to show a picture. Why is that so difficult?
Mm,
There we go. Here's a
mm.
picture of the Quaken. Yeah, long skinny blades with trailing points.
Okay,
Yeah,
there you go.
I guess
I'm
I'm
into
the
that
type.
too.
Yeah, G10
Is that
inlaid with wood.
Coca-Cola?
Yes, and Ruben Fruber.
Nice.
And it's a liner lock, so that it matches on the opposite side. Yeah,
How many? Really?
Yeah,
yeah.
so this thing's not cheap either, right? It's
No.
Astio priced.
It's Astio priced. Yeah. Ton
What's
of
an Astia going for nowadays?
Over $2 polar bear dollars.
Okay. What's the steel on this? D2 as well?
I believe so.
yes.
Okay.
So far, I think the entire released lineup is D2. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
So I think this one was a tricky one because of price point and because the Quaken's not necessarily a new design. It's we didn't know which lane we were going to go into with this one.
No, that's completely fair. I might special order one for myself if that's the case, though.
Yeah, well,
I might wait for yours to show up before I do one for me, but
Oh, I got something else to pay off first, but I like that. I like the Coca-Cola. And Joe, you can destroy your Coca-Cola again in new and fantastic ways.
hey, yes, I can, and I just might because I really like the look of that design.
I'm just going to remove those inlays and replace them with black mold, and Joe will not be any of the wiser. It's fine. It's fine. Yeah.
It's a horrible thing to say.
Well, I gotta get some Coca-Cola inlays somehow. Come on.
Oh, don't worry about it.
It's the mold though.
If you manage to remove those inlays without me noticing, you've earned them. I'm not arguing. I'm not arguing.
Well,
that
he's gone.
Heist of the century.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have many questions about that, but that's okay.
Well, it's going to have some Mission Impossible music, and then I'm going to come in with very precise tools and then hit it with a hammer as hard as I can.
Yes, the fake out, please. Yes,
Yeah,
God,
perfect.
yes. Nice.
I was gonna say I was picturing actually like Austin Powers music in my head, and that fits perfectly with.
Yeah, exactly. It's
So, I think that might be all that needs to be said. Is there any lingering points we want to bring up? Any questions we've missed in the comments?
Any
tonight?
final questiony thoughts?
I don't think so. I think we covered all the bases. I think that was a pretty good first impression. I think you answered most of the questions we had until we get it in hand and play with it ourselves.
I think this might be worth revisiting if and when we get a third, or I guess at this point, a fourth model. Just do a retrospective on these and see what we think might be different. But I feel like I had one other question about these, and now I'm just drawing a blank. In the meantime, how's the thickness behind the cutting edge on the Diamici?
Well, it was the one that was slightly thinner overall, right?
Thinner blade stock, but a flat grind. So I was curious
Correct.
about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not as thin and slicey as the Best Tech Supernova,
Okay.
but thinner and slicier than a 450.
Oh, cool. All right. Nice.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
The Supernova like goes above and beyond as far as that is concerned.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
450 is like a goddamn Osborne. So it's
So in the middle's okay. I'm fine.
Yeah, no, it feels quite sharp out of the box.
That's nice. Yeah.
all right. I can't actually make any sort of judgments because I haven't played with this knife.
Nope.
But I will say that I don't know exactly what Diamici actually means, but amici means friends in Italian.
You know,
And Diamici it means the friends of friends. Which kind of makes sense if it's a collab between Jared and Begg.
okay, that's cute.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, aren't they buddies?
Yeah, it's our little buddy project.
It's pretty cute. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I am going to rate this review one Beatles song because you get by with a little help from your friends.
I gotta say, so I'm looking up that actually probably is what this is. Yeah.
I did a little homework. I mean, I wasn't balancing
No,
blades or anything here, but
It's pretty good stuff. Very
I
cool.
didn't watch a review on how to pronounce it or anything. I just made some shit up at the end.
I was gonna make up something about the name, meaning like what you yell before you attack a bunch of mice. Diamicis.
Terrible. Terrible.
It was terrible.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Oh man. Okay.
I hope that was only a mini glimpse of how bad that is.
Absolutely.
I was trying to come up with something. I got nothing.
No, that by itself was just fucking awful.
Yeah.
Gotta be honest. Just not even a 7 for enthusiasm on that one. Jesus.
I don't expect it to be.
Oh.
I know where your enthusiasm level is with you. I've worked with you today.
I don't want to die, but unless no.
For a few hours as a little treat.
A little death, just a little death.
Yeah.
Well, this was fun. I don't know that there's anything else that we had planned to talk about tonight. I know Dennis is probably feeling like liquid dog shit right now, and I'm not far off.
Hey, my knee still moves a little bit.
So what? It's an excruciating pain when it does. It doesn't matter.
Maybe just started throbbing like literally 5 seconds before you said that.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
I got a weird one. I'll finish it off with. I don't know if you guys have any sort of final reviews on these two knives.
Other than the fact that I like them, I could see myself owning either one. Quite honestly, they're pretty damn nice.
They're both very neat for kind of different reasons, but yeah. I don't think I'd be unhappy with either, just from the initial first impression. Yeah. We should revisit this. We should revisit this in the future. But yeah.
All right. And actually, on that note, we could probably mess around next week. We can play with some stuff. We can continue on. It's been a long weekend for everybody. So we might just do an early stream, which isn't actually that early. We just started late.
It's 10 to 9.
Yeah. We just started late. So.
Well, we ran for an hour and a half. That's pretty good.
Thank you for joining us. Thank you again to the Cutting Edge Cutlery Code for bringing in some Begg knives. Not an authorized dealer yet. Apparently, we did not get the first authorized Canadian dealer because I see another one on their list. But we're going to work on that even still and continue to grow their line because we like the fact that we've got some Canadian designers on our shelf. So, shout out to Jared. Yeah, we like him. I like him. I don't care what you guys think.
Well, makes a hell of a night.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks some other people.
Thank you everybody to the folks watching us on the Instagrams. There have been posts. It's been the same posts, but posts.
But it's not like posts from like a year ago, same posts. We could just do that, That's just recycle.
That'd be fun. I could do that.
No, that's a terrible idea. Stop doing that. Also, thank you to everyone who continues to subscribe and contribute on Patreon. We really do appreciate you guys. Continue to contribute month after month. Everything that you have contributed to us is just going to go back to you guys as a big thank you for joining us week after week. So Christmas 2023, it actually is going to be a thing, like straight up, like Christmas bows and everything. That's
No Christmas lies, only Christmas bows.
It's
everyone's getting coal.
Yeah. All right.
Cool. All right. On that note, guys, we will be back again next week.
I think God, I'm gonna look at a
I think so.
schedule.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. I see no reason why we're not back again next week. So I'm sure we'll play with more things and talk about other things and do some things. So yeah.
Things.
Yeah. Having said that, we will see you all here again next week, 7:15 Mountain Pacific time. Yeah, I guess I got nothing. I'm struggling. I'm fumbling. I've got a bad knee. It's hard for me to get anywhere nowadays. So including verbally. So, all right, guys. Appreciate you guys joining us week after week. You guys take care. I am who I am. I'm Dennis Fibers.
I am Baron Joe.
And I'm XL.ca.
And assuming we survive, we'll see you next week. Take care, guys.
Toodle. Ooh. You see that? We give Justin the warm and fuzzies.